YouTube. And there we are, live on YouTube. Dana Banana, this mic is all yours.
Thank you, Lynn. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep, you're great.
All right, perfect. If it's cool with you guys, I'm going to start with a line from the course that I think it's been very pivotal for me and I think explains exactly how I'm feeling right now. Holy Spirit, I do not know the thing I am, and therefore do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or on myself. And that is from chapter 31, section 5, self concept versus self. And I go back to this section quite a bit as far as if there's one specific area in the course I tend to, I guess, either resonate with or gravitate toward the most. It would be this one, and I will likely read from that. But first, I think I'd like to share just what has gone on for this last week. So, for several months, I had wanted to go through, I want to go through the whole house and get rid of stuff, but I have been wanting to go through like a box of memorabilia, and it had all kinds of pictures and my one and only photo album and just different things from the past. And it was a pretty heavy box, like I used to keep all of my junior high school and high school yearbooks, and then about, I don't know, 20 years ago I had gotten rid of 4 out of the 6 of them. So I'm kind of carrying around the ninth grade yearbook, which for me was the end of middle school, and my senior yearbook. And I was realizing that I'm getting very close to a time where I'm gonna probably want to get rid of those as well. I'm having this feeling of not wanting to drag the past around with me, even physically, let alone mentally or emotionally. And so I didn't even really intend to get into this project this week, but my husband and I were talking about decluttering, and I was like, I've been meaning to do this. So I sat, it was right in the middle of the little hallway toward the bathroom, and just emptied out this box. And in it were all these pictures. And obviously, I had to go through them to decide what to keep and what to toss. And just going through them, I started just feeling these memories come up. And I want to say it was kind of a combination of painful and also kind of like I can see where I can see why my past looks the way it does because of the thought system and the beliefs and the programming that appear to be in this mind, in this filter that has colored the world, albeit unbeknownst to me until I really started looking. And that's just within the last few years that I've really, really looked at it. And I couldn't just get rid of some of the pictures. Like I had to rip those things up. Um, and so now I have a bag filled with ripped up pictures. Some of them are just duplicates, but other ones, it was like, why am I carrying these pictures of a birthday party I went to when I was 11, filled with people I don't talk to or have anything really whatsoever to do with. And I went through a stage, I want to say probably about 15 years ago, where it was fun to share some of these pictures on social media with some of my old friends and old classmates. And I've already gone through that phase and I'm done with it. And I had deleted that profile because I kind of wanted to drop I just wanted to drop it. I just didn't want to feed that persona of this person trying to be this figure or this personality or this whatever anymore. And then, of course, I'll also add in that part of it was shame. But this was several years ago, and I didn't understand the shame quite the way I do now. So, going back to emptying out the box, um, as I'm filling it with all of these old pictures, and I'm kind of just feeling all of this stuff sort of begin to drop away. Like the importance of keeping, I don't know how many photos of a dog that I used to have, and all the different pictures of his puppyhood, and the duplicates, and how important it was to me to try to hang on to as much as I could. Um, just all of that stuff. Could feel it start to drop away. And then I opened up the photo album. And again, a rush of memories started to come back. And I don't have like real happy memories. If you were to have looked at me from the outside in, you would have thought that there'd be no reason for me to be upset. I don't have bad parents. I don't have bad siblings. I didn't have a bad upbringing. I didn't go to a bad school, whatever bad means, right? But I can't blame anything for the way I felt. I think it has become abundantly clear to me that any negative or painful feelings that I have ever had were supposed to be there, as crazy as that sounds. They were supposed to be there. They were supposed to be there to give me an experience of not fitting in, of not knowing who or what I was, not blending in with anybody, and to feel like a victim, and to feel weak, and to feel inferior, and to need to feel superior in order to counterbalance that feeling of inferiority. And just seeing all of that just kind of rush back to the surface as I'm getting rid of this stuff in this box kind of took my breath away. You could you can think back on things or have like an experience of mentally or cognitively understanding something, but I guess sometimes when you physically go through memorabilia, some of that stuff, these concepts, the pain, the attachments, the meanings that everything had had kind of rush up from the bottom of your gut almost, and it's like this whoosh of tense energy that you've been kind of hanging on to that's just coming up to be expelled. And so this is kind of what that felt like. Even insofar as I had carried around something that a family member had made for me many years ago. And I appreciated the thought of it, and it was really sweet, but I had absolutely no place to put it. And I've carried that around out of guilt and obligation of not wanting to hurt the family member, even though they didn't even know that I had been carrying it around and probably forgot they even gave it to me. But all of these years, I'm carrying it, and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with this thing. I don't want to put it up. It doesn't match any of my doesn't match anything in the house. There's no place I would put it, but oh, I feel like such a horrible relative for not wanting to put this thing up. I don't want to give it away because that would make it worse. That would make me feel worse, like a terrible person, uncaring, ungrateful. So I carried it around and finally decided, you know what? I'm just gonna I'm just gonna donate it. What am I doing? Right? I was finally, for some reason, I was finally allowed to let go of this thing that I had been just lugging around in a box for I don't know how many years, right? Until it fell over and broke, and then that kind of that kind of finished that all off. But it was just an example of taking a look at all of this stuff I've been carrying around all of these years that have just taken up weight and space and have had a toxic sort of energy because of all of the meaning that I had given to it over the years, all of these things in this box. but I wasn't aware of the mechanisms of how this all worked until I started to look at it. And in going through the photo album, you know, of course, I had kept photos of ex-boyfriends and then a couple of the memorabilia that maybe went with some of the ex-boyfriends and stuff. And finally took every single one of those things and threw them out. So I officially have no more pictures of any ex-boyfriends, none of that memorabilia. I took the corsage that I wore to my high school prom, which in itself wasn't the best memory, but I finally took that thing after what now, 35 years, and it went in the trash. And I kind of feel liberated from all of that. So that was the experience I had doing that. It was exhausting. It was one box, took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to do it. And I also got rid of some books, or at least attempted to get rid of some of them. I'm going to have to find a place to put them, because the thrift stores won't take them. But I've got some old textbooks from all of that personal training school that I had went to, about 15 years ago. And even looking at those books, it was like, Nikki, hurrah for letting go. Yeah, thank you. These books had meaning to me as well, and I would not have been willing to let go of them until now. And in fact, like I said, I tried to. The thrift store wouldn't take them. They said they'd wind up in the trash. I didn't want them in the trash. I feel like they could be useful to somebody else. But I'm telling you, it's hard to get rid of old textbooks. Nobody wants them. But they're beautiful books, but I have no reason to keep them anymore. And I don't want the memories that are attached to them anymore, because it occurred to me that and when I say trying, when I went through personal training school, this was like, this was a hard, difficult curriculum. I was not a good student when I was in high school or even in cosmetology school. I hated being in school. I did not enjoy being a student, and I didn't enjoy learning anything that anyone tried to teach me. Um, I would skip class a lot and almost didn't graduate on time because of it, simply because I did not want to be there. So when I went through the personal training school, because it was something I did want to do, but also because I wanted to be a more improved version of the student that I used to be in high school, I went, I'd say out of 360 hours of this in-person curriculum of this personal training school, I missed a total of 3 of them. And that was because I was sick that day. Otherwise, I would have been there. So I would have had stellar attendance. I still had stellar attendance because it was something I really wanted to do. And it was important to me to show up and actually learn this material because I chose to do it because I wanted to. Graduated from that school and figured at the time that I needed to be this persona. I needed to be the person who had overcome the eating disorders and had overcome that giant weight gain that I had been carrying around for many years. Um, that was part of my identity when I was a student in high school and for about the next 10 years. I was somebody who had deficiencies and addictions and some kind of a sickness, with the food and with the weight and all of it, because that was, I guess, part of the code, part of the script. And it was a way for me to be guilty of something, right? It was a way for me to be weak and to be down and to stay small and to be damaged. And by going through this personal training school, it was sort of this activity of self improving. So instead of being all of these adjectives that I just listed that all needed correction, the next phase of this entire thing was to become the correction. So, going through this personal training school, I was a stellar student, studied all the time, changed everything. I lived, ate, and breathed that program, that curriculum. I was a walking, talking, living example of everything that that had taught me. In addition to, I'm not sure if anybody has really noticed or anything or even tried to, but it's really not difficult to become a personal trainer. I mean, you could go online and study some material and get certified, but by whatever organization you've just paid to study their material, and technically you could be considered certified. We went through this school that was demanding, long, took me 15 months, required testing. It was all kinds of academic stuff. I mean, it was really, really challenging. Not the kind of stuff I ever thought I'd be able to sit through. But I did it because that's how important it was to me to become this self improved persona. I went back out into the world, and with the new fit, I was in the best shape of my life, new fit body, with the I am no longer bulimic, I'm no longer, suffering from overeating or this or that or the other. It's like, world, old classmates, look at me. I am not that poor, damaged, sad, you know, girl that you probably remember from school. I have improved. And those books that I've tried to give to the thrift store the other day were sort of a reminder of how this self concept that I tried to replace the old self concept with was actually just as painful as the previous self concept had been, because none of it was actually me. I went through that school, graduated, walked across that stage, got my certification, um, did all of that stuff, went out into I started writing online. I started writing for health and fitness blogs and this and that, started my own blog. Eventually, I wrote my first book. And I got to tell you, there was, oh, and on top of it, one of the leaders in the industry actually endorsed the book that I wrote. I mean, it was really cool, right? All of this was really cool. And I'm here to tell you that underneath all of it, I was still like dying inside. I did not feel that part. I did not feel like that label, that trainer label. I felt like a complete and utter imposter, right? And I was just waiting. I was waiting for a time when the world would demonstrate to me through some way that I was a fraud and that I was a fake and that I it was just not going to work. What I learned at that time was, no matter what this body looked like, no matter whether I could go into any store and put any type of dress or any kind of item of clothing on it and it would look and move wonderfully. Never had to worry so much about what position I stood in, or I it, I looked really, really good. And no matter where I went, I still felt awful, right? If in fact, while I had taken care of the accomplishment part of things, from going to the school, changing careers, I mean, I was in my later 30s when I did all of this. Um, and it was technically like I don't know, my second career. No matter how, no matter what kind of pride I could have had, right? I received an award of merit for the book I had written, and it was presented to me at one of the award ceremonies. These were like no joke health and fitness professionals awarding me, giving me a plaque for this book that I wrote that nobody else had really written anything about. And I still felt like the biggest. And I didn't like or love myself anymore. In fact, I felt even worse because now I had some kind of self image. It was a different self image that required more upkeep and more maintenance and more noise, more proof that I really was as worthy. as this title and this career and this accomplishment, seemed to call for. And none of it worked. So I, at one point, where looking back on all of this stuff, I would have felt pride. I would have felt, hey, and for in fact, for a long time I did. I looked back on all of this stuff and it was like, wow, look at how much I've accomplished. Look at what I've done. Look at this thing that, that I've achieved. And, there's some pretty impressive names involved in all of this. Yeah, I went to my 20-year reunion and high school reunion, and it was like, okay, unlike the 10-year reunion where I felt like a miserable frump, I can go to this one and really present this much improved version of myself. Um, it didn't work. That self concept also didn't work. And I'm just looking back on it this week and right now as I talk about it, and I almost want to cry because I can't believe, I can't believe like how badly I was crying out for love and approval, and I didn't get it. And even when I did kind of get it, it was never the kind of love and approval that I wanted. It was always specific. It was always, I don't know. It wasn't anything that made me feel any kind of peace. No matter what anybody said about my looks at the time, no matter what anybody said about my accomplishments, none of it made me feel any better, because underneath it all, it was just this girl crying out for love and not knowing what any of that meant or what any of it looked like. So all of this kind of came rushing up this week as I'm, noticing this material, and I'm happy to say that I I've been willing to let go of all of that. I've been willing to let go of the self concept, the initial one that was seemingly sad and pathetic and just upset a lot, and then the new and improved one that was meant to cover it all up and show that you can change your life if you just put in the time and the work and the energy and so on and so forth. I'm willing to let it all go. It's all pain, and I just don't have any use for it anymore, nor does it seem do I have any use for any label, title, accomplishment, achievement, career, nothing. The interesting part is as I'm letting go of all of this, so far nothing has quite taken its place. So I've been feeling a bit glitchy as time goes on. Um, I guess it would sort of be similar to if you've been hoarding stuff physically in your house and you're going through all of the boxes and all of its contents are kind of just sitting there, and you've even decided what to keep, what goes where, so on and so forth, but the stuff hasn't actually been removed yet. Um, it's either something like that or similar to maybe all the stuff has been removed, but now the room is empty. There's nothing filling it so much. And so now you're just kind of walking around in an empty room, no place to sit, no place to lay down, no place to put anything. I think that would probably be more akin to it. That is how I've been feeling in the mind. There's, I've been emptying out mentally, emptying out all of these boxes, letting go of the stuff. I hand everything over to the Holy Spirit. I don't even try to do any of this myself because I truly, when the workbook lesson says I do not know what anything is for, I mean, I really get that. I don't know what anything is for, right? So letting all of this go with the Holy Spirit, it's like some of the remnants still seem to be there, but nothing true has really taken its place. So it's kind of just a big empty space. So in my mind, I'm kind of feeling that big empty space, kind of that foggy, sort of brain dead feeling of the old isn't true. I don't know what's true. So right now there's nothing. And just, Dove, just actually let me look in the chat real quick. There is nothing your holiness cannot do. Lesson 38. Um, First, I want to say, Dove, I'm really happy that you're here. And I listened to, there was, I don't know, maybe sometime last year, you had done an interview on, I think it was Dakini Wild's podcast, The Miracles Cafe. And you had said something to the effect of using your birthday lesson for like the entire year. And that happens to be my birthday lesson. There's nothing your holiness cannot do. So, yeah, that would be lesson 38 would be my birthday lesson.
That's
And
impressive.
I'm sorry.
That's impressive.
Oh, okay. Um, I started to do that actually this year. I went through 2 full years of the workbook and decided maybe I'll just do lesson 38 for the entire year. I did it, I think, for the first month, and then the resistance came in, and it was like, now you're just bored. So I kind of stopped. But when it came to doing this, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. If I know absolutely nothing else ever and just knew that there is nothing my holiness cannot do, then that would be everything. So this conversation is just a reminder to go back and revisit that lesson because it actually is beautiful. And Dove, I thank you for that chat that you had with Dakini. And I know that there was another one that you did recently. I think you're talking about Ken Wapnick's material, which I had started to listen to. I have to go back to it. But yeah, and also I Need Do Nothing. Yeah, that is another one that has been coming up for me a lot too. I need do nothing because I've definitely come in contact with the whole I need to do this. I need to be a better student. I need to read more. I need to do this more. I need to listen to more podcasts. And my mind has really just been crying out for stillness. There's really nothing for me to do. I can't fix anything. How can I fix anything? I don't know what anything is for, right? How can I know what needs to be fixed or how to fix it? There's only one thing that apparently there needs to be done: to look, to wait, to judge not, and to hand it all over to Holy Spirit so that the one who does know can take care of everything. Only ego thinks of doing anything. Yes, Dove, exactly. And Lynn had put my birthday lesson is 40, another Aquarius. I would have to look up that lesson. And then Robert had put lesson 13. His is lesson 13, a meaningless world engenders fear. Yeah, these are all wonderful. And then Mickey had put in a little bit earlier, it's amazing how the ego tries to feel better about itself by constructing a better ego. And that is just one of those things that had made itself very apparent to me, right? Trying to come up with this alternate self, this improved self. And what I will tell you is that here I had thought that my appearance for so long was like this big problem, which just tells me that I used it, right? For me, that was what was probably most valuable to me about me, would have been my appearance. So if I could make it look as good as possible in every way and even attach a really cool sounding career to it, um, and I could dress it up, as hey, part of the health and fitness and wellness industry, this is all about helping people, blah, blah, blah. Like I know what helping people really is, right? I've also gotten to that I need to do nothing and I know nothing. And that includes, I don't know what helpful is. I have no idea what helpful is. I don't even know what problems are. Really, I don't know. I've gotten to that place. I don't even know how to determine who am I to judge. I've only ever seen through this filter. So, yeah, that self-improved version of me, once the one problem that I thought would maybe fix and solve everything was solved, what came up was more of the crap underneath, the insecurities, the unworthiness, the shame, the guilt, the I don't fit in, all of these other things all came to replace it. And those were not so easy to fix, right? It's easier to get motivated and go to the gym or start an exercise program or even go on a diet or whatever for a little while, or even change careers, right? Those all involve doing. Um, but when those deep seated, I don't know, when the deep seated darkness comes to the surface and you realize they've always been there, but you really don't know what it's about. You don't understand why it's all there. You don't realize how deep it is. That's when true stuckness seems to happen. And it's only recently that I had learned about the word ontological, and that was through that Forgiveness 101 video that Keith had done, that all of these feelings that I've been carrying around are not situation specific at all. It's ontological. I was confusing it with existential. I was thinking that it was an existential type of guilt. I had come to realize that the guilt that I was feeling, the fear that I was feeling, all of these negative or whatever feelings that I had been carrying around all these years had nothing to do with situations. It had to do with existence in general, um, an upset, a wrongness of my existence in general. And it's pretty deep. That's one of those core beliefs that I'm not sure how easy it is to identify it unless you really are willing to take a good several deep dives, which I have been doing. But I have since learned that the word is actually ontological. So, what's underneath all of this stuff? What's underneath that need for one self concept to be replaced by a better self concept, to have stored a bunch of painful memories, and then even the need to purge them? All of this stuff comes from this sense of ontological guilt. It's it's guilt and upset and fear and shame of existing in general. And only through reading this course, practicing this course, which has been a blessing to me, can I understand and actually now see that these feelings all come from a mind that is outside of time and space. And all of these conditions, I can't understand them because I, the person, didn't make them. So the person, cannot solve them. But because I've been willing to look, now I can at least see, oh, these run very, very deep. And in fact, I don't really know their origins. But if what this course says is true, then I can absolutely see how this could be there. But it's not for me to fix. It is only for me to notice, actually, to notice and to be in the feelings and to be willing to let them go and hand them over to the right teacher. Um, Dove had put in, see all as the light we all are. Formless, we stand in the light, not the dark form. Yeah, so that has pretty much taken up a good part of my week. I will tell you, I'm one of those people that my memory lately, as far as just recalling things, has been a little bit shoddy. And I'm noticing that I'm having a little bit more difficult, like recalling certain things. But I have kind of like, in this other way, I have this weird ability to sort of remember specific dates, specific years, what I might have been doing that day, what I might have even been feeling that day. And it's not every single day. But I noticed yesterday morning that a date had come up and there was a meaning attached to this date from over a decade ago. And when I sat with it, it was like, well, what is this? It brought me back to this occasion. And I knew exactly what it was. And as I'm looking at it and kind of allowing that time to come up, from the trenches and sort of reveal to me, this is what you were feeling, this is what you were doing, this is who you were around, this is what you were trying to be at that time. And this flood of upset came in. I was able to notice how the very feelings that were present in me at that time, which by the way, I was trying to self improve even more than usual because I had started working with like a mentor slash coach kind of a person. And even the stuff she was trying to have me do wasn't working. It was kind of like, no, Piers, I am still too damaged to even be able to do what you're telling me to do and feel better from it. So that was telling also. But at this particular time, it was like I would probably say it was like at the height of my this is what I want to present to the world. And at the same time, I realized it wasn't going to work. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel happy. I felt very, very troubled, very, very broken, and very, very unfixable. So this memory that came up flushed all those feelings back to the surface. And what wound up happening, because I closed my eyes, I sat with it for a period of time, and I noticed how it branched off into another memory from further back, and how it led to something that had happened not that far in the future, but all encompassed very, very similar feelings of unworthiness and stuff. How all of these things had kind of branched out throughout other memories in the past, and how they all kind of fed on each other. And suddenly in my mind, it was as though I was looking at, I couldn't really tell if it was like a heart or like some kind of a neuron, but it was like a little structure. And it seemed, I wouldn't say it was alive, but I would say it was full. It was full of meaning. It was charged, right? And it was almost a little translucent. So I could see that it was on. I guess that would be the best word. With all of this going on in my mind, I was able to see this sort of, I don't know, like I said, a heart or a neuron of sorts. And it was on, and it was kind of beating, and it had branches or tendrils, so to speak, and it would branch out, the energy from this one thing that I'm looking at it was branching out and feeding all of like energy into all of these other branches and other tendrils that were connecting all over the place. And I recognized it as, this is your core belief right here. And as long as you stay plugged into it, it's going to stay on. You're plugging into it is charging it. It's making it real. It's keeping it going. And not only that, but it's giving it permission to literally branch off and connect to other things, form more tendrils or branches, and on and on and on. So it was, this analogy had showed up in my mind, and it was in connection to all of the stuff that I have just taken, I don't know, 40 minutes to talk about, with all of these memories and all of these feelings that have been coming up, and looking at these memories and purging them, so to speak. This has been your core theme, and you've kept it going, and it has grown and magnified, and just continues to branch out for no other reason than you keep plugging into it. So in my mind's eye, I stood there, and again, I've always got Holy Spirit in there with me. And I simply unplugged it. That's all there was to it. And I don't normally visualize, by the way. I can't do visualizations as far as meditations and stuff like that, or I can't make myself try to imagine I'm someplace doing something. But if it comes up naturally, like in this case, it did, it's very telling, and it's very specific, and it's meant to be a teaching moment. And so this particular belief, this core root belief, that's what it was. It was just like a giant neuron or something. I unplugged from it, and I watched it go dark, and with a tiny little bit of encouraging from my end of it, all of the little branches or tendrils that are feeding all into all of these other little branches and tendrils, they all went dark. And I caught myself kind of wanting to almost will it to shrivel up and disappear, but that wasn't going to happen. So the only thing that there was left to do was to sort of sit back and be like, I've just unplugged from this, and anything else is not up to me. The way this works out, if it shrivels away and dies, if it disappears, that is not for me to do or to force. I don't even know what it means. This is for me to trust. And so this is this is what this week has looked like. It's been kind of heavy. It's been filled with all kinds of memories that brought up pain, but I could see where the pain came from, and I could see very clearly all of the various ways I tried to either hide the pain or eliminate the pain or improve the pain. And it all comes back to the self concept, this self concept that has been so important to try to uphold, because it's the thing that keeps me from seeing what is underneath it all, which is that I'm bad, I'm not safe. The truth isn't true, which I've gotten all of that from Regina, but I've noticed it in my own root cause inquiries. I've noticed those things at the bottom of them too. um, that ontological guilt, that ontological wrongness, that's what's underneath all of it. And it's I actually had felt a little bit of pain from having to kind of notice that it was there. There was a little bit of, I don't know, maybe compassion for this girl that had lived through all of that seemingly unnecessarily. It's like, look at all this pain you went through, oh my goodness, you poor thing. Look at what you've been carrying around with you all of these years. Um, but at the same time, I'm so relieved to see it, right? I'm so relieved to see all this stuff. If it's painful, I don't care. I will let it up. I will let it all up. I will welcome it. This is what I do. The other night I got triggered over something, and I could feel it in my chest too. I could feel the pressure, the heat, the radiation, that heaviness in my chest. I let it be there, right? I recognized every single story that shows up. I'm supposed to blame it for my reaction to it. Okay, thank goodness I can see that now. I have no interest in doing it. The I need to do nothing that Dove had put into the chat is so true. I really need to do nothing, but I need to do one thing. I need to let it up. I need to let it up, and I need to look at it. It's sort of like I need to be that messenger, right? To allow the message to come through so I could just hand it right off to the Holy Spirit and say, yes, I made this. I made this to hide from you. I'm not willing to do that anymore. You know, this is, I trust you now, right? That's it. That's all that needs to be done. And so that's what I did. And I kid you not, that heaviness in my chest actually began to dissipate. I could physically feel it. It was amazing. It was such a neat feeling to have all that heaviness, that weird, that pressure just completely dissipate once I spent time with it and told it that it was safe, and told it that it was welcome, and that I appreciated it coming up to show me its presence from having been in the back recesses of my mind. Now it's in front of me, and now I can let it go. And it did. So let me see. There's a couple things. Okay, somebody, let me see, iPhone, and I don't know where she went, but she put, Dana, you are my twin. Everything you say resonates. Okay, she's going in for something. Bless you all. Husband and I are moving, going through photos, throwing most away. Always feels fabulous. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing when you just get rid of stuff that you don't need anymore. It can really feel very freeing. Dove had put, Jesus says this will save 100 years of thinking you need to do anything. Yeah. 100 years of thinking you need to do anything. Yeah. And you know what's amazing is I've noticed the guilt that comes up when I'm feeling like I should be doing something, but it's like, what am I even really supposed to do? So I could feel the ego kind of yelling out, oh, you're useless. You're just using this course to be passive and lazy, right? I could see all of the guilt that it's bringing up, but no, I'm not buying it. That's what it is, ego guilt, exactly, Doug. Page 389, paragraph 6, it's MS Share who said that. 389, paragraph 6. If that is in the FIP version, I have the FIP version on Kindle, but I don't know what page that would be. Um, Can you tell me by any chance what section in the book that is? Page 389, or I can always Google it. But all of this stuff that I've been talking, text 18.7. Well, let's go to that real quick. Just give me 1 second so I could go to chapter 18. And I remember chapter 18. Chapter 18 was wonderful. We actually had to read that. It was in a full year course that I had taken where Mickey was my facilitator. That's how I know her. Best thing. So glad I met her. And we had to read chapter 18. Let me see. I need do nothing. Yep. And you put paragraph, let me see. Paragraph 6. Let's go back. Okay. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Paragraph 6. Here is the ultimate release, which everyone will one day find in his own way at his own time. You do not need this time. Time has been saved for you because you and your brother are together. Am I reading the right? Yeah, I'm reading the right. Yeah, right? Okay. Time has been saved for you because you and your brother are together. This is the special means this course is using to save you time. You are not making use of the course if you insist on using means which have served others well, neglecting what was made for you. Save time for me by only this one preparation and practice and doing nothing else. I need do nothing is a statement of allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Believe it for just one instant, and you will accomplish more than is given to a century of contemplation or of struggle against temptation. Yes, I need to do nothing. Truly undivided loyalty. And I can see that because, at least to whatever extent I'm capable of, because yeah, okay, I need to do nothing. I can see that it is such a gift because I really don't know what solutions to anything look like anymore, right? It's gotten to a point where I don't really know how to identify problems properly. I started asking myself, anytime I get triggered recently, I started asking myself, like, what is this feeling? Right? I can feel it in the body. I can feel it maybe in a certain area in the body. Maybe I could feel the pressure in the chest or some kind of energy kind of flushing into my face. I could feel whatever it is that comes up, you know. Maybe we'll just take anger, right? Anger comes up. It literally feels like it flushes up and then radiates. And there's a heat that tends to go along with it, is what I've noticed. And like I said, different areas of the body it might show up. For me, it could be the face, and it could definitely be in the chest. And I've had to sit there in the middle of it and ask myself, what is this? Right? What has decided that this was bad? What 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 does bad really mean? Like, when was all of this even decided? I've been at the recipient, I've been the recipient of these thoughts and these beliefs and these judgments about whatever this feeling may or may not be. But what does that really mean? And who decided that? And the answer I kind of got seemed to be that was already decided. You're right. You're just the recipient of it. And you're just supposed to feel this way and believe it's this thing and then blame the story for it. And it's one thing to actually hear, it's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to actually sit in the middle of it, question it, and realize that it just doesn't really seem to mean much of anything. You don't even know where your definition or your judgments came from. Dove had put a really good lesson for you is lesson 25. Is that I don't know what anything is for?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. That is such a great lesson. And I will tell you, that's one of those that even though I haven't really been like sitting and doing the workbook lessons again, I don't know what anything is for is like my several times a day thing. That you know how, yeah, like you just put, it's my mantra lesson. There are some lessons or some quotes, perhaps from the course, that you find just are relevant for you for just about everything. Like it's become like your default way of being. And I do not know what anything is for has become one of those. I really do not know what anything is for. And to me, it goes hand in hand with what I read at the beginning of this hour, which was that section at the end of chapter 31. I think it was, I don't know, section 5 or whatever, the self concept versus the self. Right. I'd have to get back to it, but it's like I don't know the thing I am. Therefore, I do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or upon myself. It's a pretty all-encompassing statement, but that's kind of where I am at this point, and it's all day, every day, right? It's all day, every day. And the hard part is feeling sort of that glitchiness in the mind of, okay, nothing I used to think seems to be true. Nothing I used to feel seems to be what I thought it was. I haven't had the experience of the love of God or isness fill my mind up just yet. So as it as it is right now, I actually feel a bit like a glitchy computer, if that makes any sense. So that has been my week. I actually just talked for like 54 minutes straight. Go me. Is there anything that anybody has wanted to share, or let me see. Mickey's laughing. Lesson 194, this is Dove, lesson 194 and 25 are the same, which is okay. Let me see which is lesson 194. Okay. Lesson 194. And I'm scrolling through the Kindle now. I'm sure somebody probably put it into the chat already. 194, got it. Okay, let's go. I place the future in the hands of God. Yes. This might have been a lesson. I'm not sure, but I think this was it. When I did, might have been the second time I did this lesson. Yeah, I placed the future in the hand of God. One of the times I did this lesson, I think it might have been the second one. My practice or the meditation for the day, and again, I didn't try to do it. I can't try to do these things, but I place my future in the hands of God. I don't remember if it came from the actual verbiage in the lesson itself, or if it was just something that came up. I'd have to reread it. But what happened in my mind was I was sort of hanging out in the clouds, like, and Holy Spirit was with me. And I have the end of this rope, right? And I'm trying to kind of like a tug of war. And I'm trying to maneuver this rope. I'm trying to control what's happening in my life and the world, whatever it was, right? This rope was my form of trying to make things go a certain way. I'm trying to win this tug of war. And in this lesson, I remember specifically, it was like I handed the rope to God and I just put my hands up and stepped away. And it was like, I'm, I'm not looking to win this. I'm not looking to win this anymore. I don't want this tug of war. Here's the rope, God, you control it, right? And I remembered the sense of comfort and relief that had welled up in me when that took place. So thank you again for reminding me of that lesson, because yeah, that's also, I need do nothing except hand God the rope and give up the tug of war. So anyway, like I said, that's my week. Flushed up all kinds of stuff. It's all sort of dancing around in front of me, but it's not hanging out in the background anymore. It's like all up in the in my conscious awareness now, and I kind of just letting it be there and trusting the Holy Spirit will dispose of what is no longer useful and what I am no longer willing to use to block my awareness of this presence that, that is the true self from my mind anymore. So anyway, I guess that is it for this week. I thank you guys for being here and for listening to all my babbling.
Thank you so much, Dana. So great to hear your babbling. And yeah, so your birthday is 2 days before mine. So that's why said another Aquarian, because you can tell by the birthday lesson. So we are all blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We go ahead and close this out, and look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow morning. Let's see. And if you, I'm going to go ahead and first off say, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe and the like so that we know you were here, and come join us. The links are at the top of the YouTube channel, so you can always come join us or listen to us on